Good Sunday morning, everyone. Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. In today's video, we'll be focusing on a persistent weather pattern now all the way through Father's Day weekend into the middle of June of 2023. And then a backdoor cold front will provide us with heat relief across especially the northeastern United States into this upcoming week. And then a significant weather pattern change is possible with storms shifting further north into the Midwest as we get into the middle and latter part of June. We'll get to those details later on in today's video. But first up is your tropical weather update. We are still monitoring a system across the southeast Gulf of Mexico. This is post-tropical cyclone Arlene that is just to the west of Cuba. And you can see that here on the infrared satellite imagery here this morning. That is just to the north and west of Cuba. And it's going to kind of skirt between the Key West, Florida region and northern Cuba over the next 24 to 36 hours and really weaken as it does so here as it encounters some cooler waters and a lot of wind shear in the environment. Overall, the total rainfall accumulation from now all the way into Monday morning on June 5th, you do see we do have some heavier rainfall across Key West, southern Florida, and parts of northern Cuba, and then over here into the Bahamas. Generally speaking, about 1 to 2 inches of rain into those areas. So not significant flooding, but just watch out for some minor flooding issues if you live into southern Florida, Key West, or the Bahamas over the next 24 to 36 hours. Closer to home here across North America, well, we are talking about the Rex blocking pattern that does continue to persist into this weekend and really will be going nowhere anytime soon. And what a Rex blocking pattern is you have a ridge of high pressure over the top here into Canada, into the northern United States, and then to the south we have troughs across the southern and southeastern United States, along with a backdoor moving cold front from the northeast to the southwest as we go through this week. And you can see that really amplify as we get into early on this week on Tuesday, June 6th, with a trough really deepening across New England. That will send a cold front across the Ohio Valley and the Midwestern regions as we get toward the middle of this week. So looking here at your temperatures today, it is cooling off. So there's that backdoor cold front across Maine, getting into Vermont, New Hampshire, and parts of Massachusetts, the Boston area up here, definitely seeing those middle 50s for high temperatures today. But where that cold front hasn't yet reached, into the Ohio Valley, the Midwest, and really the Mississippi Valley in general, temperatures will be back, ticketed for the upper 80s, if not low 90s, yet again today for high temperatures. Definitely getting the outdoor pools a workout as we get into this afternoon and even into Monday. A lot of the heat sticking around the Mississippi Valley, maybe just a little bit further west with those upper 80s and low 90s. As that backdoor cold front reaches the mid-Atlantic states, temperatures will be back into the 70s, if not the 60s, across parts of New England on Monday. And there's that backdoor cold front swinging through New England, swinging through the Great Lakes region here, dropping from northeast to southwest across the Midwestern regions, the Ohio Valley early on this week. And you can really start to feel that by Tuesday, June 6th, across Wisconsin, across the Twin Cities up here into the lower 80s there in Minneapolis, St. Paul, the Chicago area, Milwaukee, Green Bay. All you guys up here will be back into the 70s, if not the lower 80s, as we get into Tuesday. The heat will back off here to the west across the Missouri Valley and the lower Mississippi Valley, and even parts of the Dakotas on Tuesday, with those 90s persisting across those areas. And even as we get into Wednesday, more noticeable, and we start to shut off the 90s for the most part across the country, at least widespread 90s. That'll be pushed further down to the south near the Gulf Coast. Otherwise, we're seeing just middle 80s off across the Central Plains as we get to the middle of the week on Wednesday, June 7th. Overall, though, throughout the week, we're not seeing much hope, unfortunately, for precipitation. If you live in the Midwest, the Great Lakes, or the Ohio Valley, even the Mid-Atlantic states, we're really just not seeing the rainfall. And this continues from now all the way through next weekend, a week from today on Sunday, June 11th. Some areas could see maybe a quarter, maybe a half inch of rain. Other areas will unfortunately see nothing, not a drop of rain through that time frame. All the heavy rain will be across the very same areas here. A different day, same song here across portions of Montana, Wyoming, getting down here in towards Colorado and Texas. A lot of these areas will see multiple inches of rain through the next 7 to 10 days across those areas. So definitely watching out for some flooding issues. And just zooming it into some some of the areas to see the heaviest rain. If you live in the Colorado area here, especially the Denver area and eastbound into eastern Colorado, western Kansas, getting into northeastern New Mexico, the Oklahoma and Texas panhandle down into North Texas, those will be the areas to receive multiple inches of rain as we go through the week, with 1, 2, even 3 inches of rain being on the table across those areas. But unfortunately, in contrast to that, you were just not seeing a lot of hope for rainfall across the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, or Great Lakes. Other areas could be seeing up to a half an inch if you're lucky here, especially into Iowa, southern Wisconsin, northern parts of Illinois, northern Missouri, and other areas further east into Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky. You'll be lucky to get enough rainfall to dampen the ground, if any at all. So some of these areas could not see any drops of rain through next weekend. So definitely dealing with a developing drought here. And you can see abnormally dry conditions in the yellow outlined areas are continuing to develop across portions of the Ohio Valley, the Great Lakes, in the Midwest, with pockets of moderate drought in the tan shaded colors developing into northeast Illinois, central Illinois, and then back, especially concentrated into Missouri, where we actually have extreme drought developing into central Missouri right now. So we're definitely needing the rain, and unfortunately, going in toward the middle of the month, all the way through June 16th, there's just not a lot of hope of rainfall here. Rapid onset drought risk from the Climate Prediction Center, forecasting that across especially the southern Great Lakes region into the Ohio Valley through the middle of the month. But there is hope, so don't give up on hope with the rainfall just yet. As we get closer to Father's Day weekend, we're going to see at least a major change in the temperature department, with some cooler weather for the middle of June going through that Father's Day weekend time frame on June 17th with these blue anomalies. That indicates some troughing, and we'll push the heat down a little further to the south into Mexico, the southern plains, and the southeast toward the middle of June. We'll start to try and set up some west-northwest flow over top of that across the northern plains and upper Midwest, but it is bone dry up here, so it will take some time to get a moisture source of any sort, whether it's the Gulf of Mexico or the Pacific Ocean, to get the moisture into those areas toward the middle of the month. But as such, as it pushes a little more of that heat further to the south, we are going to start to see more rainfall occurring across the Ohio Valley, parts of the lower Midwest, the Missouri Valley especially, and up here again in some of the same areas into the Rockies and Central Plains, getting toward that Father's Day weekend time frame. But if you live in the upper Midwest, North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, the upper peninsula there, Michigan, or all of southern Canada, unfortunately, still seeing the dry conditions and starting to dry out a little bit down here into portions of the Rio Grande Valley, coastal Texas, getting into coastal Louisiana and parts of Florida as we get through the middle of the month. And even beyond there, and toward that last week or so of June, getting into June 25th timeframe, we're going to start to see more of that northwesterly flow setting up, especially when you see this ridge backing off to the west and really building across the western 2/3 of the country, across the Rockies, across the central and southern plains. We're really going to start to heat up in a big way. Probably seeing lots of 90s out here, lots of 100s into Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. Remember, we're not out of drought completely in these areas, so just a little bit more dry weather. We could be still seeing those 100-degree temperatures in some of these locales as we go into late June. And fortunately, by this time, and crossing our fingers here, we have rainfall moving further to the north into the Corn Belt, across the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and parts of the Great Lakes during that June 18th through the 25th time frame, and hopefully we can get some decent soaking rains of over an inch or two in these areas, with hopefully some complexes of storms that will evolve up here into the Dakotas and Minnesota and drop southeast one after another toward late June. That is the hope, and unfortunately this could coincide with some severe weather. So looking at the surface base CAPE or convective available potential energy trends, this is essentially instability or energy needed for thunderstorms and severe weather to develop. The higher the energy, the higher the chance of thunderstorms and severe storms. Don't take these values by heart on here, but definitely giving you a trend that, yeah, we're going to start to increase the instability across the Central Plains, across the Midwest and the Missouri Valley during that Father's Day weekend time frame and beyond, especially into the last week into June. And we'll have to watch the gradient here of where you have no instability and stronger instability stability, that is most likely where we're going to see what we call an MCS pattern set up, where we have those mesoscale convective systems or derecho potential. And this is something we'll have to watch with the high pressure system developing across the south. The airflow around that will be clockwise. So we definitely see that here in more progressive type of MCSs or derechos could try to set up toward the last week or so into June. And you guys remember the 2012 North American derecho event on June 29, 2012. Well, this coincides very close to the time frame in which I do believe that this pattern will change. Not to say this will repeat itself, but definitely the pattern could become more conducive for some derechos as we get toward late June and such. My severe weather forecast from June 16th, this does include Father's Day weekend, but probably more so into late June through June 25th and 30th. That's where I see more likely severe weather with these MCS complexes dropping in from the Dakotas down through Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, and then into the Ohio Valley, and maybe even persisting into the mid-Atlantic states towards late June. Hopefully we can get some well-needed rain up here for the corn and bean crops, and also hopefully we can see a little bit more of the ground try to absorb that moisture as well. So unfortunately this does come with the threat for severe weather, I do think. So likely severe weather in the orange, but it's also possible in the yellow, so we'll just have to keep an eye on that as we get towards late June. Well, if you guys aren't subscribed to the channel, now is the time to press the subscribe button if you have not already. It's free to do, and you get all of this exclusive weather content each and every morning at 9 a.m. Central Daylight Time on this channel. I cover southern Canada, the United States, and the tropics on this channel. And also, it's very important to press the thumbs up button, the like button down below the video. It helps out more than you know, and it helps to get all of this weather information out to as many people as possible. So I definitely appreciate that as well. And if you want to follow me on Twitter for additional weather forecast updates, I do post on there fairly frequently, so definitely hit the description down below the video and follow me on Twitter, hweather420. Definitely appreciate that. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching this morning. As always, leave a like down below. Leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. I'll get to those later on today. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're new, and hit the notification bell to get all of my daily weather forecast updates on this channel. Have a great Sunday, everybody. A great rest of your weekend, and I will see you all in the next video.